I'm Rachel Lattner with Shelby Cars and Coffee, and today I'm with Jesse, and we're going to be talking about his 1987 Buick Grand National. Jesse, thank you so much for spending some time with us to talk about your vehicle. So can you tell me a little bit about how you acquired it?
Yeah, so a friend of mine by the name of Lloyd in Chicago is a collector. I've been looking for a car like this and kept sending him some searches, and he's like, I got the right guy. Found it in North Carolina. Found it from a family that was getting rid of it. It's all original, 36,000 miles, 87. It's pretty rare. It's got an Astro roof that came from the manufacturer, which is their sunroof, digital dash, all power everything. So yeah.
Why this particular car?
So since I was a kid, you know, in the Midwest, I'm from Chicago. We've always had like a huge fascination on these Grand Nationals, GNXs. And it was just, you know, something I had to do. And the right opportunity came about, and I had to pull the trigger. Made sure the wife was cool with it. That's the number one. Okay. And then if that was cool, it was definitely no looking back.
So can you tell me a little bit about the details of this vehicle, including the driveline, the wheel, suspension, and any other upgrades that you've done?
So on the it's basically it's all stock. It's original from the owner. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want the history of it, the story of it. The owner actually built this from the manufacturer for his wife. Inside the car, you'll see a badge from GM, from the manufacturer, and it's built for his late wife, who's named Judy. So rest in peace, Judy. But I kept it all original. The only thing that I just changed onto it was adding the GNX rims and you know, added a little bit of a bigger size. So just went with more of the 18-inch staggered to give it more of a fuller look. But I've kept everything as original as possible.
This interior looks really unique to this car. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
And so 87 Grand National, it all came with a unique gray-black tone with the Grand National emblem embroidered in the headrest. But what really makes this the more unique piece of the Grand National spec is the digital dash. So majority of them all came analog. The GNX also came analog, but this one specific that I own has a full digital dash.
So Jesse, what do you have planned for the future with this vehicle?
So the future of this car, so this is definitely staying in obviously the family, hoping to pass it down the line to my kids, future kids, but for the most part, I'm going to do my best to keep it as stock as possible without beefing it up. I think the story of the car is what really makes the drive even more memorable. Much more of it's much more of an appreciation of the ride when it's all stock. As much as I love power and horsepower, maybe that'll be vehicle number 2. So.
Thank you so much, Jesse, for your time and explaining everything about this awesome vehicle. Do you mind if we take it out for a ride?
Yeah, my pleasure. Let's go.
Awesome. So Jesse, tell me what's the fun fact about this car? What makes it so enjoyable for you to drive?
The most enjoyable part is the rawness, you know, just, you know, when you're old school, classic style type of drive, it's just that rawness, the gas, you know, just the burning, it's a piece of history that you're just, you know, humble enough to own and be able to kind of like share a part of this history and be able to continue to just hear stories. You learn so much more about the cars and everyone else's stories about this car. So the uniqueness of it is just learning so much more about it, you know? You may know so much about it, but there's so many different unique stories about this car that is what completely like fascinates me the most.
Yeah. Do you have one particular story that comes to mind that just you absolutely love?
I love the story of this actual car. So I bought it from a family. So the husband built this car from the manufacturer for his wife, and they both passed, and the family was looking to part ways from it, and I took it on and you know, promised that this was going to stay in my family and pass down to my generation. So the cool thing about it was that this car was built with a sunroof from the manufacturer, a digital dash, which is pretty rare. So the combination of digital dash, sunroof, power everything, you know, back then was super rare. And what was cool is the emblem. So The emblem tells who this car was built for from Buick. It basically reads, this 1987 Buick Grand National was built for Judy Edmondson. So rest in peace, Judy. I actually named this car Judy after her. So I told my wife, I said, you know, we're gonna name and live an honorable life for Judy through this car. So
I love that.
yeah.
And what about your wife? What was her involvement with this?
The first step was making sure she understood the history of the car. We both got to watch the movie Black Air together, so I got to share that story. The movie Black Air is basically built upon the story of this car and who was all a part of it. So when she got to see that, I think that was the most important part, is because she firsthand saw that this actual car is a piece of history, a piece of American history. And yeah, so that once she saw that and she gave me the green light, I didn't look back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did she have any involvement in terms of, you know, picking it up or helping with any modifications or anything?
Yeah, no. She loves the car how it is, and I think that's the beauty of this car, is that this car, you really don't have to do anything to it but drive and watch everyone just appreciate this car.
Yeah.
You know.
Have you been to a lot of car shows in the area? Or?
No, I have not actually. I've been to car shows as a fan of the cars, but this was more. This is actually my first car show here in Vegas.
Wow, and you picked us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure.
I'm glad that you picked Cars and Coffee.
Yeah.
It definitely brings like a more kind of community vibe. I think people know each other, and they're similar to you in terms of that they love the history of a vehicle, and they usually have a story to tell with it. So that's really great.
And that's the cool thing, right? I'm from Chicago, and Chicago is just such a culturally driven, you know, home, family style, you know, community. And that's kind of like one thing that I felt like Vegas slightly lacked until, you know, I started getting more involved in communities and community outreaches, and now that I own this piece, you know, you're gonna see me out here a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you do as a regular worker? What is it that
so I work for Shoe Palace. I'm one of their brand strategists.
Yeah.
And I own my own business as well. But yeah, so Shoe Palace is something that is another piece that's, you know, we do huge involvement in community work and community you know, outreaches for underprivileged. So that's something that is always near and dear to me. Yeah. So shout out to Shoe Palace.
So not so much of you don't work in like car, you know, manufacturing or reconstruction or anything like that. Like you basically have a love for cars outside of work.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. That's great. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us and doing everything that you do, and I hope to see you around here soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for driving with me.
This is Rachel Lattner with Shelby Cars and Coffee, and we'll see you out on the road.